All right. Meeting's recorded. So this is good evening, City of Clear Lake Shore City Council regular meeting, July 21st, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. All council members are present. First, we'll start off with item 2, pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the Texas flag. And I've got a shirt, so stand by. All right, please stand for that.
Of the United States of America.
And to the republic which stands one nation
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One nation.
And the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas. One nation under God. One
indivisible.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Item number 3 is reports from council. First is Councilman Mark Thompson.
I have nothing to report at this time.
All right, thank you, Councilman Thompson. Councilwoman Lyons.
I have nothing to report at this time either.
All right, Councilwoman Lyons. Councilwoman Andrew Taylor.
I think as most of us who do have children on council, we're aware that CCISD announced their plans for getting our kids back to school. They delayed the start of school by a week. August 24th is the new start date, and they're phasing the children in. They're offering online only and brick and mortar options as well, but they're phasing the children in and allowing them to start online first for the first 1 or 2 weeks, depending on your grade level, and then go into the choice that you've made, either brick and mortar or online, after either 1 or 2 weeks, again, depending on your grade level. So just kudos to CCISD. Amanda, I know that you worked, you're very humble, but you worked for the recommendations for the school district, and I think they've done the absolute best that they can with a really difficult situation. I'm extremely pleased at what they've put together for us.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Squirrel. Next is Councilwoman Jan Bailey.
All right, thank you, Andy, for discussing that. Secondly, I wanted to talk about, I attended the Kima Volunteer Fire Department meeting last night. It was in person, and I just kind of wanted to go over a few highlights. We currently have 22 folks on the roster. They have built kind of a small building. I would say it's about a 12 by 12 structure that the guys are practicing on and in and keeping their skills crafted. Also, they have been out quite a bit, as most of you know, boat fires. They've had a vessel in the water a lot with some water incidents as well. So they've been very busy. They've assisted on numerous calls. Also, potentially being built soon is a dormitory type building that will house the firefighters comfortably. They're going to do an outdoor kitchen and they're just going to have some overnight quarters, and not sure about the specs of that building and when it will begin, but hopefully soon. They also updated us on their response times, being very consistent and quick. They're always trying to make it quicker. And then lastly, changing the subject, I want to thank everyone involved in our new trash cans. They look amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jan Bailey. Next, Councilwoman Amanda Fenwick.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I just want to thank everybody who came out and voted in our election on July 14th. We have an agenda item this evening to certify those votes, and it came out in the positive. So thanks to everybody who came out and voted.
Thank you, Councilwoman Amanda Fenwick. That is my comments. Just want to thank everybody that came out and voted. That was awesome. And then, you know, we did have a little small boat fire over there in on Sunday, I guess it was, and just got to see Kima in action, but they all do roll with all their toys. So Leak City and Seabrook was there too, but looks like Kima's really starting to get some of the stuff together on I think that 28 personnel. Jan, I saw the copies that you sent me, and hopefully we can get those all out to all of council so that we communicate what the fire department's doing.
Yes.
They're growing, and they have a pretty good plan moving forward, and it's I think it's good to get that out to the rest of council so they understand that. And also the trash cans, it was good to see those get out there. Just ask Brent that we probably need to add one more down at the boat ramp, outside the boat ramp, and then maybe just a temporary can down there where they go fishing at the Sundogs. That's overflowing on the weekend, but great job. That's all I have. Next is staff reports, item number 4, Police Department Chief Keel.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't have a lot tonight. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. I do want to report that we had anticipated ramping up our activities a little bit, but we had this last little bout with the increased numbers of COVID patients, especially on our island. So we're monitoring that very closely. We're still staying with our safety protocols, wiping down the vehicles, and wearing masks and making sure that our officers are safe. So didn't get back up to speed like we had hoped, but we'll ride this one out too, just like we did the last one. Also, I just wanted to touch on very quickly the community support that we've recently felt. You know, it's kind of dark times right now in our nation, our state. Very, very easy to get disheartened, and we want you to know we saw the sign in front of the clubhouse. We were amazed at that, and now we're seeing the Clear Lake. We support our Clear Lake Shores Police signs in yards, and I'll tell you, it moves us because, you know, and we're very lucky with our community, but it just warms our hearts to see those things out there. It only takes a little bit of light. The light of a match will enlighten a darkened room. So we're going to stay true, stay faithful, and we're going to keep doing what we do. And we just pray that God turns the hearts of those who would destroy this country. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Chief Keel. Next is building official Kevin Harrell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Everyone can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, since our last meeting in the building department, I've issued 21 new permits. All the permits so far have only been minor construction, nothing major. 620 Marina Bay is that new hair salon. They've started remodeling the lease space, so should see that come about here in the next few months. 815 Grove, I completed the plumbing, electrical, and mechanical rough-in inspections, as well as the insulation. They should be starting on interior sheetrock, and hopefully they will start on finishes soon. 819 Cedar, they've started working on exterior framing. Pretty soon I'll be doing the rough-ins from mechanical, plumbing, and electrical there. Oakey's Yard House, I issued a permit yesterday. I also contact CenterPoint on the new gas line. They should have started that a long time ago, but according to the supervisor of the gas department in our area, for some reason, the project was on hold, but I spoke to him yesterday and I told him, he said he would expedite it. 903 Juniper, I'm currently reviewing a new remodel. Hope to have that approved by next week. Code enforcement, I've got 2 code cases right now. One case is high weeds and grass. The owner is working to cut that. The other case is a animal nuisance. Reports of some roosters crowing, chickens and other animals are loose in the yard. I discussed the problem with the resident yesterday, and I've also sent letters to the homeowner, both certified and regular mail. In our ordinance, the owner has 2 days to comply with city ordinance instead of the usual 10. Other than that, that's all I have. Any questions?
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Yep.
Next is Chief Rob Seckler is not here for Kima Volunteer Fire Department. And also do not have Galveston County Health District. Amy Weber is not present. That package went out, forwarded that to everybody. So you should have that with all the items. I do have them up on display. We only had 2 items for the month time. And then you can see there was a written report of all the Kima calls. And then they had 54 total calls during the same time frame. They did send us a budget for next year, and we'll be bringing that forward to council. And it looks like we actually will either have the same cost or a reduction in cost, and then Kima is going to probably go up around $54,000. So. All right, next is City Administrator Brent Spear.
Oh, sorry, I dropped off. Evidently, my computer didn't like me and shut down. Hope everyone's doing well. Right now, we're 18 weeks into coronavirus pandemic. Again, we are running our city operations, continuing our sanitation. We will have a discussion later about approval of maybe a infectious disease policy, or at least get some direction. So I had some good input from council and the mayor on that. As far as COVID-19 goes in Galveston County, almost 100,000 tests have been given. They're at 96,000, 7,400 confirmed cases, 2,400 recovered, and 60 deceased. Currently, there's just shy of 5,000 active cases, with 69 in the hospital and 4,911 self-quarantined. As Chief Keel indicated, CLS cases are at 18, and we have 10 recovered. So remain diligent and continue to wear your mask and practice good hygiene, so on and so forth. Statewide, there's been given 3.3 million tests, 341,000 confirmed, 186,000 recovered, and just over 4,000 deaths. The contact tracing continues in the hardest counties. In Harris County, our partner to the north and just across the water has the highest confirmed cases at 57,000. Galveston County dropped since our last report from 8 to number 9 on the county list. So we're doing good things. As far as weather, as you're aware, if you're watching, hopefully you are keeping track of that on your own, but we did have some rain and just last day or so, a lot of thunder and lightning. We're expecting more rain this week and anticipate formation following that. It's currently at 80% of a tropical storm or depression that's south of Cuba right now. So to reiterate, everyone within shouting, please prepare for storm season. If you haven't already done it, prepare your family, make a plan your work, gather your essentials, your important documents, and know know where you're going to go, at least have a plan in place so you don't have to deal with all of that at the last minute. As far as the named storms right now, there's one in the Pacific called Douglas, but the two named storms that will be coming up next in line for the Atlantic side that affects us will be Gonzalo and Hannah. So I hope not have to repeat those names very much in the coming weeks. As far as the court goes, the new prosecutor, Mr. Quintanilla, he started working last week. Court safety protocols are still all in place and everything went well. We're still running a little light on people coming to court, but that should change as things improve. Just getting people out of the house. Been in contact with the pool management company regarding a couple of issues, but there's nothing notable, and they're following their protocol, so that's good. Drawer Avenue, I have no update, but the conveyance documents for the right-of-way have been sent over, and they're reviewing that. One conveyance document for Clear Lake Shores, one for Kima. EDC, they probably are on the agenda, but they're continuing to run ads to drive business to Clear Lake Shores, so that's good. So check out the Galveston News. And I would imagine at the next EDC in-person meeting, Ronnie Richards will be honored for his service to Clear Lake Shores. So that'll be nice. Let's see. Jammin' and Jarbo's been postponed later in the year if possible due to group size. And let's see, Civic Club has canceled or postponed their garage sale till later in the year, so it can be reevaluated. And I think that's it, except for agenda items. Are there any questions?
I just want to say to tag on to your hurricane preparedness message, Brent, and encourage our residents to make sure that they're signed up to receive notifications from the city. We have several ways to do that through the website and as well as CLS Connect. And then for those who are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, make sure that they connect with us to make sure that they can receive updates. So I just want to encourage everybody as part of their plan to make sure that they're signed up to receive notifications.
Absolutely, and thanks for saying that. Sometimes you work so close to it, you don't recognize those obvious things, so that's great.
Yeah, Brent, you also mentioned something about the Civic Club. I didn't hear what you were saying.
On the Civic Club, it appears that they postponed their citywide garage sale until later in the year to be reevaluated. I don't want to steal anyone's thunder.
All right. Anybody else have any further questions? And thanks for the statement, Amanda. Too true. Next is committee reports. Parks and Pool is not present. Anybody got a report for that, Angie?
Parks and Pool opted not to have their monthly meeting this month. They are working with Brent, and we've gotten actually some suggestions about pool furniture and refurbishing that, and that the issues that they do have, they're with Brent on them. So even though they haven't had a meeting, they're communicating.
Okay, and I think if you're looking at next year's budget, it might have some pool furniture in there.
Excellent.
Next is roads and drainage. Richard Sowery. I thought he was on.
Oh, okay, there we go.
There, okay.
There
Yeah. Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Council. I sent you a outline of what I was going to talk about. So if you have any questions about it, let me know, but I'm going to try to go through quickly so that I don't use up a lot of your time. About a month ago, on June the 23rd, we had a roads and drainage meeting where we reviewed Cobb Finley's proposal for our next set of roads, the 2020 collective roads that we're looking towards doing, which is Blue Point and Narcissus South and Middle Narcissus. We went through quite a long meeting. Cobb Finley disappointed us, I have to say. They recommended that we do a number of of the roads in concrete all the way down to the base. And they wanted $151,000 to produce the engineering drawings for that. Earlier, we had asked them to break out the inspection portion, which we had troubles with them on the last project. But they didn't really end up providing us with a whole lot of lower prices when you look at the whole package. We went through the various different options that they did provide us with, which one was to do Narcissus in just as an overlay. That modified procedure, I guess, that we were going to do would be about $425,000. If we were to follow the recommendations for Cobb Finley, it would be over $1 million just for the contractor, not including engineering. So the recommended package from Cobb Finley was $1.134 million to do 3 roads. I don't have to have you do calculations on the back of your envelope, but that means that there isn't any way that we're going to ever be able to do all our roads with that type of recommendations. In fact, I made a calculation, given the area of all the roads that we have, it would take us 59 years to do all of our roads based on those recommendations with the current funding of $350,000. So what we've done is we've put the engineering piece with Cobb Finley on hold. We had an informal meeting with Alex, myself, and Brent, and we said, okay, look, let's see if there's a lower cost option, which we've actually done in the past, which is to overlay roads without a great deal of extra engineering and drainage engineering work. So we did meet again about a week and a half ago on Zoom with Alex, myself, and Brent, and we agreed that we would go forward with looking at other alternatives, contractors that do overlaid work, get them to come out, maybe 3 of them, get them to come out and do a proposal for us, and compare them to what Cobb Finley would be able to do for us. At least get some input from them as to whether the existing roads are in good shape to overlay. So that's where we stand at this point. There's some other items in my report that have to do with bringing you up to speed on where we are. But if there's any other questions there, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, if you have any questions later on, give me a call. But that's about all I have at this point.
Hey, Richard, I know this isn't a Clear Lake Shores project, so I don't know if this is appropriate. It just reminded me as we were talking about roads, or Brent or Kurt, if you want to weigh in. The bridge in Lazy Bend, I realize that's a Galveston County project. It was supposed to be started in June. And I was just curious if we have any information about that road project that affects us.
I think Brent would be best to answer that.
Thanks, Richard.
Yeah, this is Brent. Yeah, they have started. They've started the preliminary stuff, and they should be mobilizing within the next couple weeks. The anticipated time to complete that's going to be about 6 months. The first bridge they're going to work on is the utility bridge. They were able to get the same contractor to do the utility bridge and I guess the traffic bridge. So there's no coordination issues between the 2 of them. So one company is doing all of that, and it should be relatively smooth. The inconvenience is that that bridge will be torn down and inaccessible, and for about 5 months. And once it's back in, then we'll have a stable bridge that's safe. And it'll have a sidewalk, even though you have to crisscross across the street to do that on the available right of way. But move forward. It's probably a good thing that there may be reduced load in person at the schools this year, so that could be an advantage.
And I realize, again, that's not a Clear Lake Shores project, but do we have any plans in place to help alleviate some of the traffic congestion that we know will probably occur because of that? Or are we just going to kind of see how it goes when we get there?
They have already developed a traffic plan, and I can find that. And pick up and drop offs, and I had sent that to her some time ago so she could see, but they've already got that planned out. There's
Okay,
really
great.
can do other than just.
If you could send that all to council and myself, I'd like to see that.
Sure, can do that.
Great. Thank you, Brent, for the information. I appreciate it. And sorry, Richard, I wasn't sure where to ask that. Sorry.
No, it was perfect. You did great.
Okay, thank you.
And
Hey,
they have started with the survey and stuff. I've seen it out there, and they're identifying all the utility items right now. Go ahead, Amanda. Sorry.
That's okay. I just want to say I have a statement and a question. So my first thing is just thank you for your leadership in recognizing that that cost is a little outrageous and looking for other options there. So I appreciate your leadership in that, and your longevity and on this committee and your history with the city is really beneficial at that point. And then my other question is, I see in your notes, or I saw you guys were talking about an alternative for Badger. Is there a reason for that? Or, I mean, I see that Brent recommends that we stay with that, but was there a reason for looking for an alternative service?
Yeah, Angie, Amanda, I'm sorry. One of our members, Thomas Harland, had brought up another alternative person that could do this work. And I think it's to our best interest to try to find other people that we can compare costs with, particularly as we are trying to focus more on maintaining the roads rather than replacing them or repairing them. So, you know, you've seen our potholes, and clearly there are ditches that need to be cleaned and blown out. And we had proposed earlier to have a set aside in our budget to take care of that. And that's where we're trying to move forward, is to maybe cultivate some more resources than Badger.
Okay, thank you.
And I just had one other thing to add to the bridge construction. You know, everybody's going to be taking their golf carts or however over to the school down 2094. So I was trying to make sure folks are being careful traveling on the right side of the road. We don't want to get opposing golf carts going across the bridge on 2094, and taking care of that and the safety of the kids and stuff like that. So you gotta yield to the folks that are walking and riding bikes versus the golf carts. They don't own the sidewalk. So just everybody be careful out there during that time.
One other point for me, just noting that if that road gets shut down, particularly during hurricane season, that's going to be a problem, because the only other bridge we have is the main bridge to the city.
Yes.
What would be the backup plan for that? Because if the main bridge floods over, we don't have a way out.
That's right. Yeah, and it will flood. It doesn't take much to flood that bridge.
Well, I mean, it's almost the same as the other one. So.
Well, and actually, the other bridge is usually open a lot longer than the main bridge.
We'll give appropriate notice to the citizens that the main bridge is flooding.
Yes.
All right, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing here. All right, next is, hopefully you can see my shared screen. Thank you, Richard, for all that. Zoning Board of Adjustments, I don't believe anybody's online. Planning and Zoning, nobody's here for that. And Waterfront Compliance, I don't know if anybody has any input for that, Mark. No. I know that there was a second letter, or not letter, but a notice that came out from the city, Brent, about the letters that went out. So thanks for sending that out, Brent. Next is Civic Club. And here she comes. Let me get up one of it.
Okay. So we are still kind of canceled the things. Of course, like Brent said, the garage sale was canceled. We are evaluating closely Barktoberfest because that brings in like 500 off-island people. And I know people, the first thing people are going to say, well, the barbecue cook-off's the next weekend, but the barbecue cook-off people are isolated to their own little groups. And Barktoberfest, everybody is gathered underneath the pavilion at the silent auction. And there's a lot of work that goes in beforehand for them. And the fear, not knowing what the governor may turn around and tell us in October. So those are being looked at closely. But as of now, the barbecue cook-off is still a plan, but Oktoberfest is in the air. And we want to do a kids back to school as soon as we know when that actually will be. That's all we have. Any questions?
So Teresa, is the garage sale canceled for the year or just deferred to the fall?
Well, it deferred again.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I mean, and we were going back and forth between August and later on in the year. We wanted to try to do like the summer, July, August, so people could buy stuff taking their kids to college. So that's not going to happen. So I know people are still holding on to stuff. So we may try to do something as it gets closer towards the end of the year. I mean, poor Mary, this is her first year heading that up, and she's had to postpone it twice, so.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Would you have any extra room in your garage for my?
Yeah, talk to Alan Batchelor about that. He's trying to get rid of that margarita machine to us, and I've got to shift some stuff around before that happens.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, next is number 7, Economic Development Corporation.
Yes, very quickly. As Brent suggested, we'll be honoring Ronnie, but really sorry to lose him off EDC after 12 years. You know, sad at losing him, but very happy that council saw fit to appoint Amanda to the open slot, and we look forward to putting her to work quickly. So really appreciative of that. As Brent mentioned, we have run 4 full-page color ads in the Galveston Daily News featuring 17 of the 18 grant recipients. And I thought it was a nice layout. I don't know if anyone saw it, but it really looked good, and I thought got us a lot of bang for the buck. And then in addition to that, we've purchased 3 months run in the Islander, one of which has run, and that same ad takes 3 pages there. So a lot of good exposure for our merchant. And then mention the trash cans are in, the bike racks, which got backed up a bit because of things, COVID and other things happening in Minneapolis, it seems. And those latest report from Johnny is that those are due to arrive later this week. So we'll see what that looks like. And there are 8 of those, and so excited to get those in. And then again, as Brent mentioned, it turns out that we ended up having to delay or cancel 3 of the 7 Jammin' on Jarbos. We didn't lose any money on that, so hopefully we can reschedule those when COVID allows. And then I'm working with Brent and the mayor on a couple of small signs to go at Deepole Park, encouraging people to utilize the trash cans and not the lawn. So hopefully we can get something put up there that will encourage better behavior. So that's it.
Yep, thank you, Charles. And yeah, with Ronnie leaving, we'll go and get that award for him and present it at the future city council meeting, and then Amanda to take on and fill those shoes up with her feet.
Indeed.
And to stay on council for 2 more years. I think they're extending it out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next is item number 8, public comments. At this time, any person with city-related business may speak to the council. In compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the city council may not deliberate. Comments from the public should be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per individual. Is there anybody who would like to address council at this time?
I'd like to make a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, if I noticed that we skipped the zoning board of adjustments. I just wanted to give you a quick update on that. And that is, we met about a couple weeks ago, and we had four people on that came before us. Ted Guthrie, James and Julie Giles, Samuel Prever, and Cynthia Williams, and Angela and Michael Deacon. We denied the last 3, and we accepted Ted Guthrie's modification, or no need to modify his fence. So otherwise, it all went well. Maybe not for the latter 3 people, but we're enforcing our ordinances.
All right, thank you, Richard, for that comment on the ZBOA. And no other public comments at this time. We move to number 9, new business consent agenda. There's 2 items, A and B.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Amanda, second by Angie. Any discussion? Having none, all in favor, hands up, please, or aye.
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 Everybody's an aye, and any opposed, no. Motion passed unanimously. Next is item number 10. Council business discussion and possible action may be taken on the following items. First item is item A, discussion only on fiscal year 21 budget planning update. And I guess, Brent, I have your budget report. If you want.
Okay, on the budget report that I sent, that's what, after the input from the department heads, also try to accommodate any special requests of council. And I do have been working today on the format. I will be able to present a proposed budget at the next council meeting. I believe it's going to be on August 4th. That sounds right. So look forward to that. I can send that out prior to the meeting so you can review it, and then it will be it'll have to be posted for public input. But if you have any questions after you've reviewed that, certainly reach out to me. I'll answer it and include the rest of council on the answer.
So, Brent, I have a question. At what point will we have 2 meetings with council with a workshop?
Like, if you'd like to have another workshop, we can have another workshop.
Yes,
I
please.
thought we were having 2 more workshops.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the direction, was 2 more workshops.
Okay. Well, then look to your inbox and we'll schedule some workshops.
All right, then when will it all be tidied up in a nice package? And then when is the due date for us to approve it?
Christy, do you have the due date?
It has to be approved in September.
Yeah.
So we have two meetings in August and 2 meetings in September. So it sounds like the next 2 meetings in August need to be workshops. And we got to have public announcement on that on the first one in September, and then approval by council on the second meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, the budget workshops only if needed, and I haven't received any input on the need of having a second workshop, so. If that's
Well,
what,
can I say something real quick?
Yes,
Go ahead,
Jane.
Jen.
Okay, I'm sorry. So in the past, what has happened, and this is historically speaking, we got a bound proposed copy of the budget. We sat in workshops with Cheryl and went line item by line item, adjusting and putting in things in different columns as necessary. And just because I've been on for a while, I guess that's what I was expecting. That's why I asked Cheryl to be in the last meeting, because I thought that's what we were going to do. Anyone else have any comment? That's just my perspective.
Yeah, I would like to be able to have something that we can sit and go line. I mean, I know you sent it to us this way, and I need some more time to sit and look at it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's better when we have it on.
And go line item by line item and make sure that we're not missing anything, especially stuff that we talked about in our conversation at the last meeting.
I agree with Amanda. Having it on paper in a layout form where we can cross it out, check it, move things around is better.
Yeah, so that was the direction at the last workshop. So, this worksheet that you sent out, Brent's good. But if we can go and get it in the final format, but send it out in Excel spreadsheet too, so folks can mess with the numbers. And then we can meet on it and move anything around that we need to move around. And it typically takes 2 times for us to get that all right. And then we got to go to a public comment.
Okay, I've been working on the Excel, large Excel spreadsheet with formatting today. So it's in the same format that you're used to, where it has the items and then the city council explanations. So.
Yeah, and as soon as Cheryl can get her preliminary stuff out, I know she has to do a final run on it, but she, like Jan was saying, there's the all the stuff that we did this last year and had a decrease of 3%, but a 10% of increase of taxes resulted in this revenue trail. And at the end of the year, projections are underrun or overrun for fiscal year 20, fiscal year 21. We're going in with an underrun.
Yeah, her insight, just 'cause she knows that budget backwards and forwards is really super helpful. While we're just having this discussion, Brent, I know you included in our packet, but for those who are on the call now with us and might watch later, can you just give us kind of an overview of where we are from a sales tax perspective? I mean, it looks good, but I know there's reporting that's behind. So can you just kind of give a quick update on that?
sales tax is historically reported 2 months post collection. We adjust our report, but we know that and how it's coming in reported. As far as sales tax goes, we have seen an increase in sales tax, which is good. I can't remember the exact number, but I want to say it's around 12%, somewhere in that neighborhood over last year. The big contributing factor is that now there are collections on Amazon and orders that are delivered directly to your home. It's based on zip code that had passed just a couple worried about that collection, but it's worked out good for cities, especially those of us that survive on that sales tax. So when people buy things and they bring it delivered to their home, that's adding to our tax base. So we've seen an increase there. As far as forecasting out, 1.6 mil is historical for our sales tax number. We anticipate now we're about 140,000 ahead of that number, and so for budgetary concerns, to remain conservative, looking at about 1.75 on the sales tax side for next year. Of course, it's crystal ball. We don't control any of that. It's based entirely on consumers buying and people selling. But that's what we're trying to And that's where we sit. As far as court fees, those are off a little bit. It's not necessarily what we consider an income item, but it is something that's in that budgeted side. Problem is that people aren't getting out and they're not coming in to pay fees, and they're not coming to court. So it's not unusual to have that kind of downturn. Other cities, counties are experiencing the same thing. It's not a huge part of our budget, so it doesn't have a tremendous impact on us. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Anticipate we'll see. This year we had higher than expected permitting fees. That was due to primarily the remodel at Target. We anticipate Home Depot doing a similar remodel. So until they roll out exactly what the project is, it's hard to guess at that. I think Kevin has a good idea of where that's going to line out money-wise. So I think they're doing some electrical and plumbing updates as well.
And then in the email you sent to us, you talk about our server life it's coming to an end. So will you be getting a quote for that, or do you have a quote for that, for what that is going to cost? Yes, our IT company has already provided a quote. They gave me last year. I'm sure it was right at $15,000. They do it at a cost plus, so it's cost plus their time to build it and do the changeover. One of the nice things with them is that we won't have any significant downtime. They'll run in parallel, and then they'll take the other one offline. So I do have that. We have a similar quote for the, we call it the video vault, which is the media files that are saved by our camera systems that are scattered throughout the city, as well as I think the police department video. So all of their camcorders and things that dump into that. On the camera side that are scattered throughout the city, the technology has improved, so we can go to a more improved camera. If we update cameras to go to this new improved resolution and capability, it's around $15,000 to do that. However, when you update to those cameras, our current video server will not accommodate, it'll load up too much, because as they're recording, their file sizes are much larger, and their requirements to access the drives are much larger. So that would have to be updated. We recently had 3 cameras that were hit by lightning. Also took out a router, and meeting with Chief Keel, decided to go with what we had in place before, because upgrading to the new technology would put a pinch on that video server. So we have a lot of things that we're maintaining, and they're functioning for us, but like everything else, eventually they get to a point where they need to be replaced. And so this is, we're approaching that time with our server particularly.
All right. Any further discussion on item A? All right, we'll go on to item B. Declaration of disaster revision number 8, extending date to August 18th, 2020 at 12 a.m. Basically, it just ran out, or runs out on the 15th. I think it just ran out. And we're extending that to the 18th. I don't know, Brent, you have anything else to add?
No, it's just important to continue to do that, and can be affirmative by council if and when we need to do that. But it is important to maintain that disaster and continuity.
Is that in line with the county, what they extend, when the date that they extended theirs to? State, do we know?
Yeah, everyone's doing different dates at this point, so to match their time. There are some municipalities that let theirs lapse, thought they would fall in underneath the county's declaration, and they are having trouble now because it's specific to each jurisdiction. It's not a blanket.
I'll move to extend the disaster declaration.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Amanda, second by Jan, I believe. Any discussion? Having none, all in favor, aye.
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 Mark? No. Abstaining? All right. And then any against, nay? Okay, the only thing was Mark listening from the vote. Motion passed. Item number C, resolution 2020-06. A resolution canvassing the returns and declaring the results of the special election held on July 14, 2020 for the purpose of reauthorization of the local sales and use tax in the city of Clear Lake Shores, Texas at the rate of 1/4 of 1% to continue providing revenue for maintenance and repair of municipal streets for the city of Clear Lake Shores, Texas. And there's the results of the vote in the packet.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2020-06 as written.
I'll second it.
Motion by Angie, second by Christie. Any discussion? Having none, all in favor with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Having none, motion passed unanimously. Next is item D, ordinance 2020-13, an ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Clear Lake Shores, Texas to adopt general changes to the code of ordinances by amending chapter 18, article 3, division 2, section 18-80, registration statement, subsection 4 and 9, subsection 58-4, definitions of section 58, sexually oriented businesses, amending sections 58-9 SOB, application requirements, subsection B4, amending section 58-17, service provider records requirements, prohibited service providers, subsection A3, chapter 18. And hopefully we'll get through all these soon.
I'll move to accept or to approve ordinance 2020-13.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Amanda, second by Angie. Any discussion? Having none, all in favor with aye or hand up?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any nay? Having none, unanimous. Item E, ordinance 2020-14, an ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Clear Lake Shores, Texas to adopt the general changes to the codes of ordinances by amending chapter 78, article 5, state law reference, and chapter 78, article 6, section 78-166, definitions.
I'll move to approve ordinance 2020-14.
I'll second.
Amanda made a motion, second by Angie. Any discussion? All right, take a vote. All in favor with aye or hand up?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passes unanimously. Next is item F, temporary policies for COVID-19. And I don't know if you want to precursor this, Brent, or open it for the floor.
The precursor to this is that council can set policy. I asked for some input in regards to COVID-19 pandemic. We've been doing just as part of standard operating procedure is, maintaining our social distancing. Kevin wears a mask when he's out on his inspections. Public Works are wearing masks when they're together and out in the field. in the office, most of us are separated. There's not even 10 of us in the building usually, much less next to each other. So we're not wearing masks in our work areas for the most part. However, we provide all that PPE. We allow it to be used. And in looking at a policy which would direct, that would have to be something that would come from the city council as a policy making entity. If you want to give me direction, I've received some input from the mayor and from Amanda, some good stuff, and I think we can make that work. Just need an indication from council that they are in fact wanting us to proceed with that and implement those changes, or any changes. Do a pretty good job. We don't have a lot of people come through the door. We have masks required prior to entry on the doors. People follow that. You know, good from everyone. I just want to know if it needs to be a policy versus a procedure.
Yes, I'd like to add to this before we discussion with council, but you know, we did put the sign, you know, with the latest Governor Abbott's release, common areas are required to wear masks. We have them at our work site. I know Amanda has her work site, and you're required to go, you know, wear a mask even when you go into a restaurant. And I know when once you sit down and you can take your mask off. But the concerns I have with City Hall is that we're expecting the public to wear masks, and our employees need to wear masks when they're transitioning in any common areas. And I have observed several instances where this was not being performed. And I'm concerned that we do need to wear those masks, especially from an optics standpoint. In addition to that, of course, I understand sitting at your desk and no one's around you within the 6 feet. Spatial distancing is okay and acceptable, but in walking in the hallways and stuff, we expect the people coming in from the public, we should do the same for them.
I'll motion to discuss temporary policies.
I'll second. And I'll second.
Oh. Sorry, I have a problem with my mute button. Made a motion by Jan, second by Angie, then discussion. Sorry.
I'd just like to get more information because I'm not following what why we're making a policy. Council is making a policy.
Well, because that's what we do, we make policy, but also I think to the mayor's point, if we're going to expect our people to come onto our premises, and not even City Hall, but any public area, and they're expected to follow the governor's orders, I mean, we should be expected to as well. And I think, you know, from an enforcement standpoint and a disciplinary action standpoint, it's just a kind of a CYA as an organization or as an institution to have something in place that says, you know, that you're expected to do this under these types of situations.
Amanda, I completely agree with you. I guess I worded my question wrong. I guess, okay, so the question should be, why wasn't that already in place? Because of what we're already required to do. I mean, I guess that's where I was going with it. I completely agree with what you're saying. So I didn't know that wasn't already in place.
Yeah, that was my question too earlier when the mayor and I spoke about this. You know, I thought we had this discussion a long time ago when, you know, when COVID first started and we were requiring people to do that. And so I just think there's clearly some gray areas in interpretation, how things are being interpreted and enforced. And so for me, it's just a policy that you know, covers it and makes it black and white.
Okay, no, I completely agree. I just didn't know that there was something different, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think there's just never the official policy in place. We're doing all of the right things, but I agree with the both of you. That needs to be, if for no other reason, we as a city, it's a CYA, it needs to be in writing and it needs to be an official policy directed from us, the council.
Yeah, so something to add to that is, and it's a recommendation, but I mean, I feel Brent can make what the office policy is in the buildings, and with your direction, with council's direction, and then I can sign off, and it's as simple as a memo that goes out all to city employees that they need to adhere to, and it's no different than we're not allowed to have tattoos on our arms. So if somebody's not covering on their arm, if they do that infraction X amount of times, then there's a certain penalty associated with that. And that's up to Brent to determine and myself. But I think that just being relaxed and not enforcing it at all, I personally have an issue with that. And I will not be coming up to the city hall anymore. We're not going to adhere to the common areas of wearing the face mask.
So I have a question. Is it just on the city hall side or is it the police department as well?
I don't know. I wasn't able to look at all that.
Police department wear their masks when they're out, and when they come in, they normally they'll wear them up the steps until they to their or
So
they
they're-
wear them.
So it's okay. So they're abiding more than the other side is.
Well, wear them out in the field. They have to wear them out in the field. That's the direct chief.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're wearing them out in the field, and they enter through a non-public walkway. So, it's not a shared common or public area.
Right, but the area is common because you have multiple other. If you're in your office,
right,
and around you within 6 feet, then you can take your mask off. And we've written a lot of policy on this at work. And then as soon as you get up and go into a hallway or a kitchen or into somebody else's office, then the expectation is to wear a mask, just like we expect the public to do when they go into a HEB or wherever they're going. And it's in respect to all of our other employees. When you don't wear a mask, you're disrespecting the other person. It's not yourself. So.
And I think what I heard is Brent asking for council's direction to go forward with making the policy. And I think what I'm hearing from me, yes, you have my direction to go forward with making the policy.
Well, okay, let me amend I'm going to amend my motion to, I guess, state that a policy should be made regarding COVID protocol and temporary rules in place. I guess with the mayor signing off on it.
Okay, so I have a motion to make a COVID policy by the city administrator, and then for the mayor to sign off on it.
Well, but I think we all need to see it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay.
As the policy-making body for the city, not that I don't trust the mayor, I 100% do, but we're the policy-making for the body for the city. We need to see it.
I agree. I think we all should review it before it actually goes in place to make sure this is what we want, just like anything else.
I should have said that in there. I guess I implied it, so I apologize.
So Jan, what do you want your motion to be?
For Brent to determine policy regarding COVID, then come back through council for approval by the next meeting.
So I have a motion for Brent to go off and write the policy and bring it back to council for council to approve.
You have a second, Mayor?
No, I do not have a second.
Oh, sorry. I second.
Angie seconds. Discussion. And the only thing I have to add to that is in the interim, we're still open to where we're not adhering to something. We have a thing coming from the governor that says to wear mask when in common places, unless you have a health issue.
So Brent needs to be enforcing that within our workforce.
I can do that.
So you cannot enforce that.
Well, you know, I can encourage. We're fortunate that we have, you know, about half our office workforce in a city council meeting, so they're hearing all of this, and they can pass that down to their departments. If I'm glad that I have city councils, you know, I guess the direction to pursue this, but the problem is there's no, until you have a policy, you don't have any teeth. So and be encouraging them to do that, offer them, check in with them. You know, we have nobody that's working that feels like they're at risk, but allow an informal program that they should be wearing masks in the common areas and upon entry to the building, just like everyone else, until they get to their work area. And if they're going to exit their work area and through a common area, they need to have a mask on.
And to Kurt's concern that it's an extended period of time that we would be out without the ability to enforce the policy that Brent writes because it would be the next council meeting. Would it be possible to shorten that time length and then have an emergency council meeting to approve it as soon as he gets that policy written?
I was thinking the same thing, Angie. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, doing a temporary situation.
So are they still rotating days? Like half of them are at half day? No,
Everybody's back in the office full time?
Everyone's back in the office.
So what I'm not understanding is that, Brent, you were able to set policy for folks to go home without any direction from council. And now all of a sudden, I'm trying to make sure we're following the governor's order for common places for folks to wear masks. And now it's becoming a problem that you're saying that we don't have a policy for it. That's what I have an issue with. So I request council, from a mayor's standpoint, to maybe evaluate setting a policy tonight saying in the interim that employees of the city of Clear Lake Shore shall wear masks when in common areas until the said policy can be updated and brought back to council at the next council meeting for approval. Or we can do an emergency meeting if y'all want to get together and do one of those. We're all nice. Close in the community is pretty easy to do.
Yeah, no, I think we need to do something in the interim because clearly it's not being enforced, and there's an issue from Brent's standpoint not being able to enforce it. So I'm all for that. But with the follow-up, there's going to be some sort of policy. And just for council's perspective, what I sent him was just an example of ours at the college is a communicable disease policy. So it's not specific to COVID, but you know, if you had a measles outbreak or, you know, something else that it falls in line with that, but then it does outline, there's a policy and then there's a procedure. The procedure can be modified without governing body approval. It just needs to have leadership approval, but it outlines the steps that you take within that procedure. So again, that can be for discussion tonight or somewhere else is what we want that policy to be. But I think some sort of temporary policy needs to be in place now so that, Brent, you can do your job and enforce what the governor is telling us that we need to do.
I agree, Amanda. Yep.
Yeah.
All righty, then I'll come back on and amend my motion to establish a temporary policy current, and then, I mean, do y'all want to do an emergency meeting? We establish it now and then put the policy in an emergency meeting. That's another option. Any input?
No, I think a temporary.
Can't really vote on your half amendment. Just make an amendment and then see if we get a second, and then we vote on it.
All right, I'll make a motion to put a temporary policy effective immediately regarding what the governor has stated that we do in common areas, and then also come back around and substantiate it with council's vote at a later date.
Does that get you what you need, Brent? Is that clear enough, or do you need something more specific?
No, that'll start my the policy.
I can't hear you, Brent.
Yeah, I can't hear.
Hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry. The, yeah, that gets me started in the right direction. The policy would, because we're dealing with a health issue, I think it's real important that it has the ability to have sanctions against the employee. So that's the thing. It has to have a little bit of teeth in it. And so if that is verbal counseling, a reminder, the next thing is a verbal warning, then a written warning, and then time off work without pay, then that's the way that would have to, that would be like a proposal of that policy. But I think it has to have, sanctions in it. So that's why I wanted that.
That would be up to you to develop. That's what I think we're trying to say.
And in line with whatever other policies we.
I mean, right now I would consider a reminder until the policy is actually wrote, and then it goes from there.
I mean, yeah, and so we have a motion and we don't have a second, do we?
Okay, just to clarify, the motion that Jan made, Brent's saying it does get him what he needs to enforce the policy until we can write that policy. That's what I heard. Is that correct?
Yeah, it gives me the direction to move forward and I can start doing this. The governor's order, even though it's an order, does offer, opportunities for people not to wear masks. So, not to be in conflict with that governor order, but I do have received a document today that I think will fit the bill. It just needs just a little massaging. So I think it should be something.
Amanda, I like what you were saying about the policy that you, I guess, sent. It's an overall general. It's not just COVID related. I think we need to make sure that it is not, necessarily COVID related. It could be any type of situation that would require, more health purposes. That's what you were talking about earlier. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, not that ours is the end all be all, but ours is a communicable disease policy.
Great. Okay.
So I have a question. So Brent, have you asked them to wear a mask in the common areas?
I provided masks and told them that they could wear them in the common areas. I've not directly instructed them to do that, but that's the next step tomorrow. So that'll be rolled out.
And that was requested by myself to have that in place. And that's where I have an issue is that if somebody's told not to park in a certain parking spot because it's going to be held for a certain reason, and an employee still parks there, eventually you go through the reprimand sequence, and we don't have to go write a policy for that. So I'm not understanding why we're getting so much pushback on this.
But it was a discussion, and I can move forward with it and provide what I thought was needed for this.
Okay, so the motion on the table now is to establish a temporary policy effective immediately to enforce the governor's mandate regarding face covering, social distancing, or face covering. Is it just specific to face coverings in common spaces, Jan?
No.
As far, I don't know exactly what the issue is. I want protocol to be followed, obviously.
Yeah, the recommendation, or not the recommendation, but the protocols that have been given out by the governor.
By the governor.
Yes.
To be observed in our city facilities. So if we're making the public do it, then our city employees need to do it.
Yes.
Following Governor Abbott's Order 29.
So I have a motion on that. Do we have a second?
I'm sorry, could you say the motion one more time? I want to second this, but I just want to make sure it's all inclusive. Could you say the motion one
I
more
know,
time?
it's,
The motion is to follow Governor Abbott's proclamation number 29 and have it in place in government, in the city of Clear Lake Shores government facilities.
Okay, I second the motion.
Okay, sorry. But we want to come back with a bigger policy, or are we good with just leaving it here specific to
Bigger
the?
policy.
I would
I
say,
also said-
yeah,
Okay.
I'm with Jan. I would say write the policy just as, like Amanda School has, just a general thing
Yeah.
that covers everything, and then we won't have to revisit this if another pandemic or whatever breaks out.
Exactly.
So a communicable disease policy is what we are directing
Yeah.
Brent to create.
Yes.
Okay, I
Yes.
agree.
So so Jan, can you state your motion?
Okay. Let me try this again. Okay. So effective immediately, that the City of Clear Lake Shores policy include the governor's mandate 29, in addition to develop an overall communicable disease policy for the City of Clear Lake Shores to be
Okay.
brought back to council as soon as possible.
By
For
the
vote.
next meeting. As soon as possible, or the next meeting.
Correct.
No,
All right.
as soon as possible or the next meeting, Jan?
Whichever comes first. I mean, if we can all get together in an emergency meeting, I would prefer that. I would be available.
Don't need an emergency meeting.
So you want to?
Well, we need that'd be great. I mean, an overall, a good policy in place is good. A broad policy, I guess, is where I'm going with that.
Get something by Friday. Brent. Did you hear me?
Yes, I gave you the okay, but couldn't hear that.
You can get something by Friday, so we'll.
Yep, certainly.
So the motion, as I remember now, is that the city will impose the Governor Abbott's proclamation number 29 order for city facilities, and then for the city administrator to create the policy moving forward with communicable diseases and have that for city council by Friday.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll second that.
So that was a motion by Jan, second by Christie.
There you go.
Any discussion? Having none, all in favor with aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. Motion passes unanimously. All right, item G, this is going to be tricky. This is us going into executive session pursuant of section 551.72, authorizes a governmental body to deliberate in executive session on certain matters concerning real property. The governmental body may conduct a closed meeting to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, and deliberation in an open meeting would have detrimental effect on the position of the governmental body in negotiations with a third person. So at this time, we go into recess at 7:53. The council and city administrator and Christy Strop, city secretary, will drop off from this phone call and get on the other one. And I'll see y'all over there.
Get off of here.
Brent, can you hear me? Brent, are you there?